Hello friends, we continue with the sequel to The Black Moon. Its history is called The Mystery of Zone. It was the year 1968, when the police found a corpse of a man in the forest, Wailing, north of Venice in Italy. The unusual, the body, is that he was completely naked, no signs of torture, he could not identify it, and they found no many clues about the body found. The body was taken to the morgue and used as an object of practice by students, say that the body mysteriously disappeared in 1970. In 1972 arrives at the morgue of the Roma hospital, the same hospital where he had disappeared the corpse, a young doctor of name Zone, after 2 years, achieving some fame, because his patients recovered miraculously. One day the Dr. Zone was on duty at night, after an arduous operation, fell asleep in his office, but noises coming from the room in the morgue awoke it. Without hesitation he went to the morgue room to see where they came from, those strangers' noises. Once inside the morgue, noted that all was well, so he proceeded to retire. When he was about to open the door to pull out of the morgue, someone touched her shoulder. Zone, nervous and scared, turning and saw a man who looked like the corpse that had and amp recited 4 years ago in 1970, which had told you. This man, who seemed to be in a state of decomposition, said to him, "Who are you that save the dying death and you do not return the dead to life?" Zone became frightened and ran to the door, but that strange man was closed, approached again, his eyes, and gave a heartbreaking cry. Suddenly, the door is opened, was the security guard, and found a sea of nerves to Zone. Since that day Zone, it was traumatized, could not walk or talk. They mobilized her wheelchair. Doctors found no explanation of his situation. After 2 months and observations, was sent home. Since then, his mother cared. The Dr. Johnson was his best friend, was always aware of it, visited her frequently, but he hoped that someday is recovered, loved her in secret, and dreamed in forming a family with Zone. One day the Dr. Johnson, who was in the hospital, received a call. Was a police officer, telling who found the mother of dead and naked Zone in your bed. Dr. Johnson was the person closest to Zone, so the authorities do not hesitate to call it. It should be noted that the police were alerted by neighbors, since they listened to a few harrowing screams that came from the house of Zone. When Johnson arrived, he found a very disturbed Zone. Finally, the police did not find many tracks of the happened. It was a case almost filed, until it reached the detective Thomas, who would take the reins of the mysterious case. The Dr. Johnson decided to take to Zone their home, contract a nurse so that you take care of it. One night, after 2 weeks, the death of the mother of Zone, Dr. Johnson listened, strange noises emanating from its kitchen, turned into your kitchen and find nothing. Suddenly I hear, as if someone hastily climbed the stairs, got scared, because they were only the Zone at home, came up the stairs quickly and turned to see a Zone, and she was sleeping, that day not able to sleep. Detective Thomas got in touch with Dr. Johnson to see a Zone. He had suspected, since the body of the mother of Zone had many similarities with the body of the man found in 1968. It was all very strange. Johnson told him what happened to Zone. Detective Thomas had many doubts that Zone was really so bad as it was, so it was to inquire about the Zone, and it is so exactly made a trip to Rome in Piazza Navona, place where Zone had lived the last 20 years of his life, but did not get in formation about Zone. It seemed that no one knew her. Then one day became a stray alley and told him that Zone had been in a nun's school. Then he addressed school of nuns, but nuns they avoided talking about it. So I stayed in a nearby hotel, in order to get information about Zone. The next morning, Detective Thomas again approached the school's nuns. One nun, all fearful, approached him, due to the insistence of Thomas, and told him that Zone came to school accompanied by a man, which he claimed to be his father, and leave it at school when she was 12 years old. But 2 years later she escaped. After that, only knew that he was a doctor famous for descriptions of the man, which left Zone. Detective Thomas is realized that it coincided with the dead man found in 1968, so that taught him the photo of the man, and the nun said, "That was the same that I leave a zone." Then information, given by the nun, Detective Thomas decided to travel to Venice. In the middle of the trip received a so-called error, Dr. Johnson, who told him that the nurse who was in the care of zone was found dead in the 4th zone, totally naked, and that mysteriously zone had disappeared. Al-Lagar Detective Thomas addressed Wing Morgue to examine the body of nurse and has had very similar characteristics to the corpse of the mother of zone. Then I go to the Dr. Johnson and he told him that the body of nurse has many similarities with the mother of zone, and curiously with the body found in 1968. So I told him to be very careful, since everything indicated that zone was the killer, so this quiet, that the police would be patrolling the area. Then the Detective Thomas addressed Wing's own house, because he thought that she would be there, where more could be fought, so we turned in the night to the house of zone accompanied by 2 police officers. When they found the house arranged and clean such which had left it to move to the hall heading to the quarterfinals, the policeman noticed something rare in a picture hanging on the wall. Picture you could see uneven. Detective Thomas under the table and noticed that there was a small hole hit the wall and realized that it was false, so proceed iron to break it. They made a hole and what they found, I leave you stunned, was body disappeared from the morgue, which they found in 1968. Is suddenly hear a voice, "They want of me." Detective Thomas and policeman turned have. And it was Zone. He was standing, with staring and seemed very angry, suddenly turned off the light, and Detective Thomas felt the breath of Zone on his neck, felt "I do anything you said," and Zone rushed upon him, shooting, and desperate cries were heard. The police had asked for reinforcements. When the police arrived, he found the Detective Thomas wounded in the leg and scratches on the face, and the dead policeman, as well as other murders in the zone, were naked. Levaron to the nearest hospital. Dr. Johnson. Thomas was who attended him. Thomas told the Dr. Johnson that it would come to the end of this mysterious case. It is history will continue.